Welcome everyone. From humble beginnings back in 1919, the LightHouse Center for Vision Loss has been a fixture in the region for 100 years. Next week, the center will celebrate its centennial at the Great Hall at the Duluth Depot. And there's quite a story to tell over that century of serving those with low or no vision. Joining us now is Mary Junnila, Executive Director of the LightHouse Center for Vision Loss. Tucker Nelson is a UMD history major and intern at the center who has researched its history, and Laura Lussier is an occupational therapist at the LightHouse Center. And thank you all for being here. What an exciting milestone you are celebrating, and we'll be talking about the history in just a couple of minutes. Tucker, I understand you've done a lot of research into it, but Mary, maybe we could start with just giving people who may not be familiar with the Lighthouse a sense of what it is and what your mission is.
Our mission is to serve people with all stages of vision loss and to help them live safe, independent, and vibrant lives. We've been doing this work for now 100 years. And what's really exciting is I learned a lot about our history from the research that Tucker did, and to really see that the work that we're doing now is really reflected in those roots.
Sure.
We have a long history of being innovative and kind of at the forefront and adapting as we go along, and it was fun to see that in our roots. Our founder, Bertha Hanford, at the age of 28, started working for the state as the first Duluth agent for the blind, and 5 years later she founded the Lighthouse. Because she felt that the work through the state wasn't enough, that there needed to be a workshop and an opportunity for employment for people. So she was a volunteer executive director for 4 years.
Sure.
And in many ways, she is Duluth's own Helen Keller, and it's a story that I don't think people know, and I think it should be known. She was a pioneer in the field. She was a strong advocate. She didn't want to settle for kind of patronizing views of people with disabilities. And
so Tucker, maybe you can share with us some of the history then that she started.
Sure, and one thing I would like to clarify, I'm one half of a duo. There was another student, Julia Schaefer, who was in France at the moment, who I worked with to do all of this. So there were two of us who did all this research, and it's a fascinating history. And it's been interesting to learn about the variety of activities that the Lighthouse has done. One thing that I think is interesting that Bertha Hanford did was she realized where opportunities existed and took advantage of those. On our own Iron Range, she started a broom factory for miners who had been blinded in accidents. And that was another way that she helped people overcome an obstacle. And at the broom factory in Chisholm and at the Lighthouse workshop in Duluth, it was all about empowering them and helping them find.
So the Lighthouse was
work.
actually involved in manufacturing at one time.
Right. In fact, many people in Duluth who have lived in Duluth for a while will remember that, and many people remember the Lighthouse for making toilet paper, which is mostly what it did at the end of manufacturing. And they made lots of different things: rugs and leather products, paper products.
Has all that stopped?
Yes, and that stopped in 1999 was when production shut down. And part of that was the result of a volatile paper products industry, but it wasn't what the Lighthouse clients wanted to do. They wanted more options.
And speaking of options, you help people with those options today, kind of carrying that history forward with occupational therapy.
I do. So I'm able to work with people in their homes and show them what's possible. Unfortunately, so many people hear that, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do for your vision, and they think that it stops there, but there's really so much that we can teach them and show them how to adapt what they're doing and continue doing what they love.
Tucker, as you were researching, did you find that, back 100 years ago when the Lighthouse started, were there many opportunities or supports available to people who were struggling with their vision at that time?
Not really, which is why the Lighthouse was created. There were many philanthropic Duluth women who wanted to make a difference and to give people who were blind or had vision loss a sense of purpose and a place to socialize. That was a large function as well at the time. It was a place where they could go to be with people who understood them and to make a living. And Bertha Hanford liked to clarify very often that the Lighthouse was a business. It was not a charity. And it was a place where people could find meaningful employment. And that was something that the Duluth and Northeast Minnesota didn't have prior to that.
Mary, how can vision loss affect one's mental health?
Oh, wow. Well, certainly the journey of vision loss is a difficult one. And you know, a lot of people do become depressed with that, you know, if they don't know that there's options and what can happen. So, you know, that's one of the reasons that we're so passionate about getting word out that so much more is possible than most people realize.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been with the organization, I understand, about 9 years, you said, and about the time that you got there was when the name changed from originally being the Lighthouse for the Blind to now the LightHouse Center for Vision Loss. Why was that identity change so important?
Well, the Duluth Lighthouse for the Blind is a good name. It's not. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it remains our legal name, so we use them somewhat interchangeably. But the Lighthouse Center for Vision Loss, we felt was a better depiction of what we do because most of the people we serve have a good amount of remaining vision, and we were also finding that a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Lighthouse for the Blind. Oh, I'm not that blind yet. I don't need that," and we wanted people to understand that. You know, that we are there for people with all stages of vision loss. So we do hear from folks that, you know, that it's been good that we changed the name for that reason. So
Laura, then what kind of services are available there? Somebody picks up the phone, calls the Lighthouse. What kind of questions do they have?
Well, you know, we have a huge array of services at the Lighthouse. So we have different programming for people of all ages. We have our transition program for transition age youth that are 14 to 21. We have occupational therapy services, which myself and 2 other OTs are providing. We're seeing older adults in their homes all throughout northern Minnesota and also northern Wisconsin. And for that, teaching them how to be independent and do the things that they want to do. We also have orientation and mobility training and training in adjustment to blindness and employment and support groups. There's
Braille and techniques of daily living, and we have a store that we've had for quite some time. We have the Twin Ports News on the Air radio service. About 70 people volunteer to come in and read the local news over the air in the morning, and then it also ties into the state services for the blind. Talking book radio service, so that's a great option. We're always looking for volunteers for the reading. We have some people who have volunteered literally since it started like 20 years ago. It's just amazing dedication.
Laura mentioned the transition program, and I think that we have some video from a ropes activity that was part of that program for teens. Talk about that and how that helps people who are struggling with their vision.
Sure. So the transition program is a fairly new program at the Lighthouse for teens who are age 14 to 21. We serve teens from all over the state of Minnesota, and we teach a variety of skills. What you're seeing on the video right now is a ropes course, part of the recreational things that they do, but it's not just for fun, it's also that the teens learn that they can do something that might have felt kind of scary. I was listening to a couple of the girls after they had done a tandem bike riding event the night before, and they were chattering over breakfast, and they were saying, "Oh, I was so scared before I went out there, but I did it, and then I wanted to do it again." And we think it's important, you know, for anyone, not just somebody with a disability, but especially somebody with a disability, to realize they can do more than maybe what they thought.
Mary, you mentioned Braille. Do you teach Braille there?
We do.
Is it still used widely?
Braille is very important. There's a lot of research that says that people who are Braille readers have a much higher chance of success in employment and that kind of thing. And the reason for that is that Braille is really literacy. There's a lot of technology now. You can access books in an auditory form, but if people don't have a way to know the written word letter by letter and word by word, it diminishes the literacy opportunity. So Braille is very, very important, and it's also just another opportunity for people, another option for them for literacy. So,
Laura, have you seen technology really improving opportunities for people who struggle with their vision?
Technology is just amazing in what it can do for people with vision loss. We actually have a recent initiative we started, the Technology and Me program, and we're working with people to show them how technology can keep them safe in their home, keep them communicating with their family members, be independent in the things that they want to be able to do. I have a client that I've been working with that I was training her in how to use a Google Home device, and she uses it to manage her calendar, so she doesn't have to rely on her vision and writing to manage the calendar and know when her doctor's appointments are and when our visits are. And she has the added bonus of listening to music and then being able to check on her sports teams. So there's so many applications of various technology.
Can you give some examples of maybe other forms of assistive technology that are available that people might not know about or might be surprised to hear about?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different wearable technology options where people have different glasses that they can have that will read text for them, so it'll recognize written word and then read it either into their ears or adapt things so they're able to see it more clearly.
Sure.
In the picture here is a gentleman that we worked with. His name is Roy, and he came to us really wanting to be able to stay in contact with his family who lived out of state. And through training, he was able to learn how to use this computer with a specialized program called Zoom Text. And with this program, he was able to email his family every day and keep that level of independence and connection with his family. And it was really important to him after his wife had passed away because it was a way to still keep close and keep in contact.
so and he learned to use email in his 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Good for him.
And sadly, Roy passed away a few years ago, but he lived into his 100s.
Wow.
With a large level of independence, and we got a wonderful thank you letter from his family saying there's no way that he could have lived so independently but for the
Nice.
services of the Lighthouse.
Laura, I was going to ask you too, are people with moderate to severe vision loss employable?
Oh, most definitely.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we have our employment services, and clients can come to the Lighthouse and get training in different daily living skills and different things that they can do. So really it's whatever a person wants to do in their life. We can help them to see the possibilities and different training to be able to problem solve and figure out how to adapt things and be able to do it.
Now, Tucker, I understand you're a history major?
Correct.
So you take this internship as a history major. Are you finding things that you were surprised to learn just about people as you study the history of this organization?
Well, it was interesting learning about how people were able to overcome challenges and try to solve problems and do good things in their community. A lot of what the Lighthouse is about or has been about in the past is adaptability. Well, it still is, but the history has been about that, I think. People figuring out how to make the best of the resources that were available to them at the time. And there have been a lot of really interesting stories and interesting people who have been involved at the Lighthouse since 1919.
Are you finding, Mary, that local businesses are taking steps to make their operations and services more accessible to people with vision issues?
Well, absolutely. I mean, certainly our society has come a very long way, and there's a long way to go as well. I think people just don't know all that's possible. So we do work with businesses to help them adapt their environment. If there's an employee that they have who's maybe struggling, and setting up computers and helping people know how to get around the workplace and that kind of thing. But I think a lot of employers don't understand that people with vision loss and other disabilities can be great employees for them and all the adaptations that can be made. So, I guess just to get the word out, we're happy to work with folks and help.
And And you've got some things planned for the Centennial. Talk about
Yeah.
that. We've got about 30 seconds
Okay.
left. So,
Well, we have this little mug. This is our commemorative mug, the LightHouse Center for Vision Loss Centennial. It's got a photograph of lighthouses in our community and at dawn, kind of a dawning of a new century. We are having the depot event this Thursday. It's a reception with live music and silent auction, and it's free to the public, so we invite people to come 5:30 this Thursday. I guess beyond that, just call us at the Lighthouse and let us know how we can help.
all right.
Wonderful.
And we will have some information about your website on screen. But thank you so much for coming in,
Yeah,
Mary,
thank
Tucker,
you.
Laura.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations on 100 years.
Yeah.
And I hope that you have another century of success.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.